Right now at noon, we remember the heroes' lives lost 22 years ago after the tragic events of September 11.
Back here at home, we're starting to see a few more rain showers rolling through the area. We'll take a look at that forecast coming up.
Plus, would-be homebuyers are still facing high prices that have been rising for 5 straight months. We'll tell you why the real estate market is causing frustrations.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on KOAM News at Noon. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy. In today's top story, a felony warrant arrest was made by Pittsburgh police. On Saturday, September 9th, around 6:31 p.m., officers with the Pittsburgh Police Department were dispatched to the 500 block of East 6th Street for a disturbance. Upon officers' arrival, they observed 40-year-old Jerome DeVore of Pittsburgh, who was the subject of the call. Officers were aware of his multiple felony warrants from Crawford and Cherokee County courts. DeVore fled back into the residence and officers heard movement in a connected commercial building. Officers obtained permission to search both premises and the department's K-9 unit located DeVore hiding amongst the items stored in the building. DeVore was taken into custody to the Crawford County Jail, where he's being held no bond for his multiple warrants and the charge of interference with law enforcement. Now let's take it over to Chris Warner, who joins us with a look at the forecast.
Yeah, we've still got some rain showers rolling across the area. We've got all of this across southeast Kansas and now stretching into northeastern Oklahoma, beginning to make its way into southwest Missouri, part of a bigger complex of showers and even a couple of rumbles of thunder. Now, the odds of a rumble of thunder have gone down since this morning, but still could see a couple of stray thunderstorms out there. But that's the good news, too, is no strong or severe storms expected if we see any thunderstorms. Yesterday, check that out, started at 55 degrees, well below average, and made it up to 85, right around where we should be for this time of year. Unfortunately, for this month, we're already almost 1.25 inches off of where we should be, which does not help our overall rain deficit for the year, but at least we're getting some of that today. Now to the west, we're getting a little more rainfall. We're at 67, Yates Center, Iola, Sedan, 70, Neodesha, Chanute, Independence, sitting at 72, Pittsburgh, 74, Joplin, Miami, 78 in Veneta, so you can see where the rain has not yet made it, but all of us will get in on this later. So we got that wet Monday for today, showers and storms throughout the day. They'll continue to increase across the area. Could see a few stray showers on our Tuesday, and temperatures remaining very fall-like, in fact, below average across the area. We're going to take a complete look at your forecast and how this cold front that's bringing us this rain will impact the week ahead here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Students in the ROTC program at Pitt State paid tribute to those lost during the 9/11 attacks this morning during their Patriot Day Remembrance Ceremony. Multiple times to symbolize each of the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11th, 2001. The first shot fired was in honor of the first plane, American Airlines Flight 11, when it crashed into the World Trade Center's North Tower at 8:46 a.m., killing everyone aboard and trapping people in upper floors of the tower. The second cannon was shot at 9:03 a.m. to represent when the second hijacked plane, United Airlines Flight 175, hit the World Trade Center's South Tower. Both towers collapsed. The South Tower just went before 10 a.m., then the North Tower a half hour later. Again, the PSU cannon was fired for these two somber moments. And during all of this, they played over the speakers the actual dispatch of the emergency first responders in New York City 22 years ago as they rushed to save innocent people in the World Trade Towers. PSU cadets took turns reading each of the 2,977 names of those killed in the attacks, and an additional 65 names of those who died from related injuries and lung disease. For each name read aloud, the cadets did a push-up. We spoke to one spectator about what she remembers about that day.
It was good until I heard that the first airplane had went through the first building, and then it was just somber. Everybody was in tears. Lots of tears, lots of crying, just everybody glued to the TVs watching everything that they could find out about what was going on.
It has been 22 years since nearly 3,000 people were killed on 9/11. Today we honor those who died, and we're also shining a light on Americans who answered the call after the attacks as America went from being at peace to being at war. Catherine Herridge spoke to veterans of the war terror who are taking a new approach to helping each other heal.
Where we come from, you pull the trigger if it solves a problem. I was a problem that had to be solved.
A retired Delta operator, Derek Natalini, told CBS News he wouldn't trade his 20 years of service for anything, but it came with a price.
I felt like I was hiding who I was from everybody. I didn't understand why I couldn't think. I didn't understand why I couldn't feel responsibly. I didn't understand why I hurt so much.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
22 years ago, President Bush was at New York City's Ground Zero. His words galvanized the nation.
And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
And within days, elite military and intelligence operatives known as shadow warriors became the tip of the spear.
There's a calling. It's got to start there. Your heart's on fire for something.
Natalini completed more than 24 deployments, including Afghanistan and Iraq, where he says door breaches and improvised explosive devices caused a traumatic brain injury, or TBI. After he left the Army in 2017, Natalini says he felt lost and landed in a very dark place.
You had a gun in your hand, and you were seconds away from ending your life.
I had it pressed to the side of my head, yeah.
And you were able to pull back.
Yeah.
Are there other shadow warriors out there who are also struggling?
Well, it's emphatically yes. Emphatically yes.
According to recent VA data, the suicide rate for veterans was 57% greater than non-veterans.
The rate of suicide amongst all veterans, but shadow warriors in particular, is obscenely high.
For more than a decade, Pac Fancher has raised money for educational scholarships benefiting the children of fallen intelligence and military operatives. Through discreet concert events so secret, the name and location are on a need-to-know basis.
You've brought in some big names over the years.
ZZ Top, Peter Frampton, Steve Miller Band, Lenny Kravitz, Sammy Hagar, Billy Idol. We had Brad Paisley.
Fancher is now working with Natalini to launch the Operator Relief Fund, a clearinghouse for specialized services that address traumatic brain injury, stress disorders, substance abuse, among other challenges. The goal is more immediate help and access to innovative treatments. They say 180 shadow warriors have been helped.
We Americans owe these shadow warrior families. We need to get in front of this.
With the deep support of his family, Natalini says this holistic approach helped turn his life around.
Had I had to do that by myself, I wouldn't have come back from that.
With this new mission, Natalini says he feels the same sense of purpose he felt on 9/11.
We have an authentic desire to care for that person and that person's spouse. We are working to get it right one person at a time.
There's a real grassroots effort to help these veterans and their families who've also shouldered the burden of multiple deployments, and to offer that help in a way that can complement existing VA services. Catherine here at CBS News, the Pentagon.
That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at Noon, house hunters are heaving sighs of frustration over a market that still isn't leaning their way. And later, we're making California dreaming pasta toss in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. The U.S. real estate market exploded during the pandemic. The number of sales has since slowed down, but would-be buyers are still facing high prices. Bradley Blackburn tells us why.
Christine Egan is working with realtor Carol Christensen to buy a home, but it's been a frustrating search.
It's a time in your life where you're supposed to be, really excited and happy, but it really hasn't been that at all.
One reason, high loan rates are making it more expensive to purchase a home. The average interest on a 30-year mortgage is over 7%, close to a 2-decade high. At that rate, a monthly payment on a $400,000 loan would be about $1,000 more than 2 years ago when rates were under 3%. Egan is often being outbid by buyers who don't need a loan.
In 30 years that I'm doing this, I have never seen so many cash buyers.
Rates are higher, but so are home prices. That's because there are fewer houses on the market.
Sellers are thinking it's not worth looking for another home.
Tony Danzica heads an association of realtors. He says homeowners who locked into low mortgage rates years ago don't want to sell just to buy something else at the current high rates.
So they're holding off. They're not putting their houses on the market. That's why we have low inventory across the country.
The low inventory is driving up prices, which have been on the rise for 5 straight months and are near a record high.
The pickings are slim, and it looks like now it's getting, less and less.
Egan plans to keep looking, but will only buy if she finds the right fit. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, Katona, New York.
Another factor driving the supply and demand imbalance, home builders aren't building quickly enough. Home builders pulled back after the last housing market crash and haven't ramped up since pre-2007 levels. Still to come on KOAM News at Noon, we see what's cooking with Mr. Food.
But first, after the rain today with this little cold front coming through, we've got some pretty pleasant temperatures for the week ahead. We'll look at your full forecast when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM News at Noon. So we're starting to see more of those rain showers spreading across the area, and a couple of thunderstorms still possible, but our thunderstorm chances have gone down just a bit since this morning. And the good news is, regardless, if we do see a thunderstorm or two, we are not anticipating any strong or severe storms, which is great because the last couple of rounds of much needed rainfall we've seen, we have ended up with damaging thunderstorms out there, and that's not going to be the case this time. Let's take a look back about 3 hours ago. You can see this activity continuing to lift off to the east-northeast across the region. And if we take a wider view and look out to the west, yeah, there's a bit of a gap that's forming here just south of Wichita, but worry not. Look what's racing in to fill that gap out in southwestern Kansas and northwestern Oklahoma as it continues to roll on through. So even if the rain pauses, it will be momentary before more showers start to roll in. So again, as you can see, a stray thunderstorm or two possible out there, but nothing significant other than the fact we are going to get some much needed rain that's going to persist with us as we head through the evening and into the early overnight hours before we start to see that transition into more of an isolated to slightly scattered shower event as we head into our Tuesday. And then by the time we hit about noon, 1 o'clock, the rest of that's going to clear out of here. So our rain chances with that second batch, that bigger batch out to our west, will really ramp up as we head into the evening and overnight hours. And then again, it'll start to taper off as this activity clears out on our Tuesday. MoDOT camera 20th in range line in Joplin. Looking to the south, we are cloudy. But we have not yet seen any rainfall there. Same from the MoDOT camera, US 60 and Missouri 59 in Neosho. Looking back to the west, it is cloudy, but the rain hasn't started yet. And it's difficult to tell, but it looks like it may be starting to rain here at the KOAM studios just north of Crestline. And the KDOT camera to our north, just south of Pittsburgh, beginning some slight shower activity there as well. Our camera 7th in range line looking good so far. Still cloudy, 73. Dew point humidity both into the 60 range, but nothing too crazy. We head over to our friends in Pittsburgh. Last report was cloudy, but I do believe we're getting some showers now. 72 with a calm breeze. Now, those who have been getting a little bit more rain, again out to the northwest, a little bit cooler. 67, Sedan, Yates Center, and Iola. 70s, Neodesha, Chanute, Independence. 73 in Chetopa, 74 Miami, Carthage, and 73 in Neosho and Lamar. As we head into the afternoon, where, believe it or not, because of that gap that's forming, some of us may make it upper 70s and maybe even creep into the lower 80s today, but we'll otherwise see those scattered showers and thunderstorms across the area, and they will continue with us again through the evening into the early overnight hours, and then begin to transition to just showers with lows back to the lower 60s. Looking at mid 70s for us on our Tuesday. Isolated showers again possible, otherwise mostly cloudy skies, and with the cold front passing through, wind shifts out of the north at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. And that's the impact it's going to have. Is we have a couple of warm points here, but all of these days about 5 to 8, even upwards of 10 degrees below average as we hang out in the 70s heading into the week ahead. And we've got some shower chances Thursday evening, Saturday morning, and next Wednesday. And next week, we do start to warm back up again. We'll start to see highs pushing back into the lower 80s, so just slightly below average, but still below average. But check out those overnight lows falling back into the 50s. Even as we return to the low 80s, our overnight lows don't make it out of the upper 50s at this point. So some fall-like weather. We're transitioning now, and it's getting
I'm
here.
excited. I'm excited. It'll be my first fall in the 4th state.
It'll be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, stick around. We're making California Dreaming pasta toss in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. We'll be right back. It's time to check in with Howard and the Mr. Food Kitchen staff. Today he's making one of the best pasta recipes you've never heard about. It's called California Dreamin' Pasta Toss. Take a look.
The other day I went home, cooked up some pasta, and when I reached for a jar of spaghetti sauce, I was all out. Rather than moan and groan, I welcomed the challenge and came up with a new dish with a few things that I did have on hand. Boy, did it exceed my expectations. While the spaghetti was cooking, I melted some butter in a skillet and tossed in a handful of walnuts. When the butter turned golden, I added a good amount of fresh spinach, some sliced sun-dried tomatoes, and a little salt and pepper. I cooked this just until the spinach started to wilt. I spooned it over my pasta and gave it a good toss. A little taste test convinced me that I was onto something. So I brought it to the table and topped it with some grated Parmesan and a little more ground pepper. Once everyone tasted it, I knew I had a winner. They were raving about it. This just proves that good, simple ingredients create great, simple dishes. To get the recipe for what we call California Dreamin' Pasta Toss, simply visit our website. And in case you were wondering, I call it that because the walnuts are from California, and I've been dreaming about making this again since that night. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a dreamy way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
To find this recipe, along with many others, just head over to our website at koamnewsnow.com/Mr. Food. Now here's a look at the 4th state market prices.
All right, showers and a couple of thunderstorms will stick with us as we head through the afternoon, evening, and overnight hours. A couple of isolated showers tomorrow before 1 p.m., maybe a stray shower Thursday and Saturday. Otherwise, this cold front keeping temperatures nice in the 70s once we get through today. Overnight lows in the 50s.
All right, we'll take it.
Yeah, bring on some more rain.
All right, what are you going to bring on for tonight?
Well, a lot. For starters, a volunteer firefighter who survived the September 11th terror attacks is on a mission to break the stigma surrounding mental health and PTSD. Plus, the 4 states remembers the events of September 11th, 2001, and first responders are honored for their service to the community. Hope you'll join us for those stories. A lot more, of course. It's coming up today on KOAM News at 5.
And that's the news for now. Thank you for joining us for the KOAM News at Noon. Have a great rest of your day.